which normally means we are live. So welcome everybody to another Holistic Vet Sisters. They come around so quickly. It's cool. It's like, wow, it's Thursday again. I get to be with Tina for another hour. And Lise isn't here with us again today, as you can see, but it doesn't matter because we have Dr. Marlene and she is just bursting with loads of cool stuff to tell you. So Dr. Marlene is over in Florida. So she's another holistic vet sister that you may remember popped up for a quarter of an hour a few weeks ago, but is here for the full hour with us today. So if you have questions for Dr. Marlene, do ask them. We do have some questions that are already written down. Tina's our little admin. She's got those written down. So we will address them if we can. We had a question come up about vaccines, and while we wait for Lise to come back, because I think she's like our expert with that, we just want to point you in the direction of some previous episodes that we did do where we thoroughly talked about vaccines and we thoroughly talked about the lepto vaccine, which I'm pretty sure we've thoroughly talked about the lepto vaccine in at least 3 others. So what we might do is maybe relabel that so it makes it a little bit easier for you to find that. In case the question asker is wanting their answer quicker than Lise can come back and be with us. But so back to today. So it's me, Caroline, from the APNC. Ignore the canine flow, that's something else I do. But from the APNC to answer your nutrition questions. Tina Purple.vet is a holistic vet from Norway. And as I said, Dr. Marlene is a holistic vet sister from Florida. So Dr. Marlene, now she practices some wonderful modalities, which really, as you were saying, Marlene, they're not really available in the rest of the world, are they?
Well, they're not known as well in the rest of the world, and some of them requires technology, so you have to make some purchases and then get the training on them. But they are really modalities that make the difference. They take you from just getting by to really having those thriving successes.
They sound amazing. We want to know all about them. Tina was just signing herself up to just do the training as we were chatting. They sound amazing. They really do.
Yeah. So what I do, I think would be a little easier to give them a recap is, we're all trained allopathically. That's, you come out of vet school, you come out of medical school, and that's the only training that we get right now. So that's the traditional Western type of mindset. It's symptom suppression, you name it, you blame it, and then you come up with a pharmaceutical or you nuke it or you cut it. So that's the training that we came out with, but we were really not trained to understand the biology. So what I do is more bioregulatory medicine, which is a way of saying that I really dive into how does the body work at a biological level? What are those enzymes and those pathways? And what are we doing to interrupt them? And what are we doing to support them? Or why are they not working? And so when we ask the question, oh, I have a symptom, why is that symptom there? Then that takes you down the rabbit hole that allows you to understand what's wrong in the terrain. Because at the end of the day, the body is a wonderful ecosystem where all these organisms use us as their host. And when we become out of balance, when the terrain, the living environment becomes out of balance, we start to see problems. And the easiest way for the lay person to understand that is think about a garden. If you want to grow something in the ground, and the soil is terrible. There's no nutrients. It's just rock and sand or clay, and there's just really nothing that is healthy about that soil, then you're likely to get primarily weeds. And it's not that the weeds are bad. The weeds are coming in to begin the biological transformation of that terrain that isn't very hospitable. And then once the weeds establish some nutrient density and they die back and they add some good microbiome to the soil, then other things can start to come in as the soil becomes healthier. And that is exactly what's happening in our bodies. When we do not have a hospitable terrain, the microbiome that's healthy and supports us, they go, oh my gosh, our planet is getting ready to die. So they send in the pathogens. They're not the evil thing that we have to get rid of. It's just an indicator that the terrain is off. Now we need to fix why is the terrain off. And that can take us into our next set of answers.
Yeah, yeah. Do you know, actually, we were talking about the terrain theory earlier with Dr. Connor Brady. We had an APNC meeting with Dr. Connor. And yeah, I mean, the thing is, because the terrain is everything,
Yeah,
really, but it's the scary bit because it changes so much. So the certainty is much lower. It's harder to measure. And so we find ourselves a little bit worried sometimes about leaning on that and trusting that. But actually, billions, eons of years of nature has evolved in a sense to trust this terrain, and it's when we move against that that I think we get more problems, really. So this trust that we're building is all part of our empowerment as a canine or cat guardian, I think.
absolutely. Absolutely. And we live in a time period where we have never seen the level of toxicity that we are enduring right now. And most people, most veterinarians are not testing for toxins. Now,
Mm.
I test for everything that there's a test for, just about. And some of the things that we are seeing in egregious levels are mycotoxins. And these mycotoxins are really creating havoc in the body, so much so that some of the symptoms that we're seeing are not identifiable to one particular thing, but it's just this overall interruption for how the body works. So it could be GI, it could be allergies, it could be heart problems, it could be nervous system disease. There's so many different factors, but the fact is they are causing problems and we're not identifying them. And
Yeah.
then the others that I test for are glyphosate, which is the active ingredient in Roundup, super toxic, and I test for heavy metals and microplastics. This is my next really big education point is microplastics because we are inundated in microplastics. So, plastic that we use to cover our food and to store our food and we drink our drinks out of, it's everywhere. People have plastic bowls that their animals drink out of. People use plastic cutting boards. Take a look at your cutting board, and if you see little cuts in them and you can see where there are chips out, whatever came out is in your food because as you're cutting, it's sticking to your food. And so now you're consuming all of that. And they also have really, really bad effects on the body, and we don't realize they're there. So I just started working with a company. We're the first to actually start doing testing for animals. So we can start to have some information about just how bad are these microplastics. And when you add them together with the glyphosate and the mycotoxins and the heavy metals, oh my God, how are we even surviving? It's a testament to how the survival mechanism of the body is so strong.
So microplastics, do they, I mean, I've got a number of things running through my mind in terms of how they might influence the body. Do they, for instance, agglutinate and all sort of stick together and stick to organs and impair organ function? Do they impair cellular communication? Do they sort of interrupt the cellular pathways, the frequency pathways of communication, or what are they actually doing? I mean, obviously recognize we don't want them in there, but what's actually happening inside the body there with those?
Yeah. All of that and more. So some of the particles are actually physically obstructing. Some of them are releasing toxins. They're interfering with biochemical pathways. So yes to all of it. And we don't even know that they're there. There is a wonderful movie. Everybody has to go watch it. It's a documentary called, it's either Plastic Ocean or Ocean Plastic. And I watched it on one of my recent flights and I was absolutely mortified. And so I'm already almost all glass and stainless steel. There's very, very little plastic I use in my home, almost nothing. But I went to the grocery store the other night, which I don't ever go to the grocery store. My daughter does all the shopping. And it was 10 o'clock at night, and I just wanted to get something quick to eat. I was on my way home and I didn't want to eat a lot. It was almost impossible to find something. And I was in a Sprouts, which is in the US, it's one of our more holistic stores. Everything, ladies, was wrapped in plastic. The meats, it had cellophane and plastic everywhere. The only thing that wasn't in plastic was a couple of drinks that were in glass and the fruits and vegetables that were not wrapped, the ones that were in bulk and they were laying out in the bin. And that was it. But they gave you a plastic bag to put your stuff in. So you were doomed.
What do you do about raw feeding though? Because of course, in terms of transportation, storage, plastic is used. I mean, what else can
I
you
know.
avoid putting in a
Even
cardboard?
I have a raw food company, and the same thing. We have a special plastic. It's still plastic. It's a special plastic that doesn't leach. So when meat comes in contact with it, it is not releasing any of the chemicals, but it is still a plastic.
Mm,
So we haven't found a solution. And on the industry side, I just wrote a blog on this. So whenever this podcast comes out, my blog will have already been released. And what we can do is as much as we can do. So control the things that you can control. You absolutely can control what you're buying your drinks with. You don't have to get plastic. I don't do aluminum either. But we just have to choose. And as we put pressure on companies to get rid of glass, or I'm sorry, get rid of plastic and go to glass, then we start seeing a difference. Now, the manufacturer for my supplements, we had been 100% glass on all my stuff. And just a couple of months ago, they took 2 SKUs and they put them in a hard plastic. And I was so upset. Why did you do that? And I understand their problem was, one, it's expensive to ship because it weighs more. And two, they were getting a lot of breakage. So of course they have to eat the cost when they ship something and then there's breakage. So it becomes a cost factor. And I get it, but we have to figure out better solutions. The other thing is there's a lot of plastics in commercial pet food, a lot. And then we see it coming out in the animal stool. It can be measured and tested for. So we know that they're eating a lot of plastics, but plastics come in through inhalation, through ingestion, through intravenous. One of the things I was shocked at when I started doing this testing is I couldn't put the blood in a syringe because the syringe are plastic and they're going to affect the particles when we test the blood. And I thought, oh my gosh, I never even thought of that. But when we go and we have IV tubing, it's all plastic. So we're literally putting it in our veins. I don't have a solution for that, but I think we could minimize a majority of it. And then we have to lead a lifestyle that is more geared towards detoxification. And it's not a question anymore of should I detox? The question should be how much do I need to detox?
yeah.
Because we're all inundated.
Absolutely. What's it like in the supermarkets in Norway? I think of Norway as, mountains and rivers. Is it the same?
No, actually, I was going to mention in Sweden, I remember living there for a summer and they've banned plastic bags, so you only find like paper bags for your vegetables and stuff like that, which is very nice.
I think there are solutions. And the part about the plastic that is even worse is that when we throw it in the garbage, it ends up in a landfill,
Mm.
and those landfills end up in the ocean. So we're polluting Mother Earth and we're killing Mother Earth. In that documentary I mentioned, they're doing necropsies on birds and fish and finding massive amounts of plastic, physical, like you can see it with the naked eye. It's it's bad.
Yeah.
And so when people are eating a lot of fish, like shrimp that feed right underneath the surface, they're loaded in microplastics. And then we eat them. And so we're eating microplastics with our fish. Salt coming from the ocean, which of course has high levels of plastics in it now. So when you're using salts that are mined literally from seawater, you're going to be getting microplastics.
Yeah. So, in terms of ailments, what do you think people need to be looking out for? I mean, probably everything, really,
It
isn't it?
is. There really is not a specific, it has to do with the type of microplastic, the size of the particle, where it's located. So the better question would be if we are not feeling 100%, if we don't have good activity, mental clarity. Now I'm talking people, of course, but when we start seeing symptoms, that is the lead into there's something wrong. And we just have to look hard enough for as many answers as we can get. If we can clean up the big stuff, the body's going to do the little stuff. The big stuff to me are glyphosate, heavy metals, mycoplastics, mycotoxins. These are the ones that are making the biggest impact because they're so massively inundating us. And
Mm.
then you couple that with deficiencies of essential nutrients. It is a wonder we're actually making it as far as we are. But animals are living 7 years shorter than they did 25 years ago,
Are they?
despite the fact that we have all this fancy medicine, and yet we're living our pets are living 7 years on average shorter. I'm seeing cancer rates now that are almost 100% in dogs. They say 1 out of 1.65. I'm telling you guys, we're seeing almost 100% of cancers in dogs and under 1 year of age.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
It's no longer an old dog, old cat problem.
it's a scary statistic, isn't it? Yeah.
I just have a question.
Sad.
Go on.
It's sad.
Yeah, when you're talking about microplastic, have you found a good way to detox it?
There are a lot of ways to detox. You have to open the organs of elimination. You have to be able to use chelators. So it depends on the plastic where it's located, but really it's our organs of elimination. But first and foremost, you have to stop polluting the body. I mean, so, my very first step in how do we get better is stop doing the things that are creating the problem. So imagine you're going down to the river and you're going to clean all the pollution in the river. And you're doing a great job. You have teams of people down there and machinery, and you're doing great. But no one told the people upstream to stop dumping. And so every weekend you go out there and you're just cleaning more new stuff because we keep adding it in. So step number one really is we have to become aware of where these are coming in and then start making life changes. So what's cool is if you start buying things that are either in glass or stainless steel, then you can repurpose that jar or that container. And now you're not spending it twice, you're just repurposing and reusing. So if we buy kombucha in a glass, then that glass container, when we get done drinking the kombucha, is what I use for drinks. Or we use stainless steel. My daughter makes bedazzled cups. So we have all of our amazing bedazzled cups as well.
These are new toxins, really, in the grand scheme of things. Do you think the liver actually has the pathways to recognize how to break these down and get rid of
No,
them?
it doesn't. It stores them in the fat.
Right.
So as we start detoxing our organs of elimination and as we start helping the body to shed these toxins and bind them and get them out, then we can start improving. But we do have to stop putting them in before we can really do a great job in getting them out. And that's just being mindful. It's different. It's harder if you don't want to be mindful, then you're going to say, "Oh, this is so hard. I got to change everything in my life." To me, it is the life I live. So to me, it wasn't hard to change. It was just the motivation. I don't want my stuff ending up in the ocean. I don't want my stuff ending up in the stomach of a bird. So I need to do something different. And it's my responsibility as a steward of my body, my animals, and Mother Earth. So we just have to take our steward job more seriously.
It's like a new habit once you start. I mean, I get my water from a spring. I now come home with it and I put it straight in these blue glass bottles. And, I could be like, oh, why am I bothering to do that? It takes me ages, da, da, da. But actually, it's the best thing. And
Yes.
I just do it now. Once you're in the habit, you're in the habit. I think it is changing our habits and taking more responsibility for sure.
And it brings joy and gratitude. And
Yeah.
gratitude is the number one hormone for longevity. So when we are doing things and we feel good and we are proud of ourselves and we know we've contributed something positive to the world, you feel good, you're happy, you have gratitude and joy, and you spread that energetically, you are changing the world around you. So it goes from a little wave, it's a ripple, then a wave, and then it's a big wave, and then tidal wave, and then you all of a sudden you're a tsunami of change. So even just the three of us, we start making those changes, but we're influencing others through your podcast, through our clients, through our family members, through our friends. We live by example. And the more we can encourage other people to change, hey, if I can do it, anybody can do it. It's not that hard. You just have to choose. What do you want to do?
It's certainly better for our dogs, the whole household. Sure.
Okay. We have quite a lot of questions already, actually.
Okay, come on. Let's do some questions.
Yes. So Jane just asked us on the chat, Poppy might have the start of canine arthritis, said the vet, and she'd said she could prescribe a drug, but it wasn't good for the dog's liver. I said I'm only interested in natural holistic ways and asked if she'd heard of you, so she wanted to know what your thoughts is. When do you go for the drugs? What other directions do you go with dogs with arthritis?
I don't think I've used a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory in over 20 years. And my patients do so much better. There's so many things that we can do. First, you have to start with making sure you're feeding a species appropriate diet. So if she's still feeding processed foods, then that's a problem because you're not giving the body those nutrients it needs. So species appropriate diet, clean, structured, filtered water, make sure the pollutants in your home have been mitigated, that you have some way of mitigating the amount of electromagnetic pollution, that you have good air quality. All of these things are super important. And you need to stay in a state of happiness and gratitude. That's number one. Number two, making sure that all the essential nutrients are on board. These are the nutrients that the body cannot make in sufficient quantity on its own. You have to get them from your diet. But we know the foods that we're eating today are nutrient depleted because the soil's nutrient depleted. We haven't been using good regenerative farming practices, so we have to take them in the form of a supplement. And then we have to heal the leaky gut, and there's a variety of different natural ways to do that, supporting the microbiome, detoxing all 6 organs of elimination. I have an ebook that they can download, and it has everything laid out for them, and it's free. So it's holistichealingvet.com. And then after we do the 6 organs of elimination, we get into supporting the mitochondria. Now, when you've gotten all that, which sounds like a lot, but it's really not. You can do it in 30 minutes. You get all that taken care of, do the testing so that you know what deficiencies you have. Most of these animals are vitamin D and magnesium deficient. That runs the entire innate immune system, leaving us open to create inflammation. So arthritis and any other disease that we name starts with inflammation. And inflammation just hits the weakest link in the body. So for many animals, it's going to be in the musculoskeletal system. So now we understand that. Now you go into things like chiropractic adjustment, you go into acupuncture. We're using a product right now that is called Alpha Flow. Not very many veterinarians are using it, but it is a veterinary specific product, and it's made from the placenta, and they harvest the matrix and the signalers that are in the placenta. Then they make it into a product that is acellular, so there's no cells left in there, but all of the information that was in that placenta is now in an injectable form. So we inject that into whatever appropriate location. It could go intravenous, it can go intralesional, it can go in a joint, it can go in the falciform ligament in the intraperitoneal space. And it starts to communicate to the body, telling the body what it needs to do to repair itself. And it gives it the matrix, the information template to be able to do the repair. And I've seen dogs that were, barely limping, they're barely getting around, they're not wanting to play, they're in pain. And one injection, within 3 weeks, we have videos of them running around. Now, it's not a cure-all. With that particular product, we have to also keep them. Injections can be once every 1 to 3 months, whatever that turns out to be. But it's as the animal needs it. But the point is, these are natural products. These are communication on a cellular level that the body understands and recognizes. So there's no side effects, there's no downside. But it is a lifestyle. And that's what I really want that question to be answered with is, if you're starting to see osteoarthritis, there's inflammation, there's leaky gut, there's deficiencies, and there's toxicity. So do the appropriate testing, find out what's going on in that body, test, don't guess. And now you can take specific action to start remedying that. And as we reduce the inflammation and as we support the body in its healing process, this earth suit is so intelligent, far more than what we could ever create. And all we have to do is get out of the way and let it do its job. And that's what this whole style of medicine is all about, is give the body the things it needs and get rid of the stuff that we've polluted it with. Boom, answer.
Because I do think the Guardian said that the dog wasn't very old, didn't she, Tina?
She didn't mention an
Oh,
age here.
okay.
But
Yeah.
she also had a second question because she's wondering about Poppy's nails because unfortunately well they bleed very easy and she has quite a long quick and she doesn't wear them down very well. Do you have any thoughts on that?
So she's saying that the quick is grown out because the nails are long.
Yeah, so the nails are long. She doesn't wear down her nails very well, so she needs to cut them often, and she often starts bleeding because they cut the quick because it's very long.
Good to see. Yeah.
Yeah. So if they keep doing nail trims or use a Dremel, the closer they get to that quick and they keep it short, the quick will recede. But it sounds like this dog isn't walking on hard surfaces because in the natural gait, as the animal is walking along concrete or asphalt or harder surfaces, it naturally starts to wear those nails down. Like you don't see animals in the wild with, I mean, cats will have sharp nails, but you don't see dogs with long nails in the wild. And that's because they're using traction and they're wearing them down naturally. So I would just say do nail trims more often or use a Dremel. And when you're doing the Dremel, just keep getting it a little shorter and a little shorter and a little shorter, and that quick will recede on its own.
There's a correlation here, I think, with potentially it sounds like Poppy might not be really grounding also when she's walking, because if she is in pain, she might actually be walking a little bit more like this than how she is designed to do as a dog. So I
Beautiful.
would really be thinking about some physical therapy, whether that's McTimoney, they're really gentle, a dog osteopath or someone that can really look at her structurally, because then she'll really be grounding and she might actually be missing the ground with those nails, you know?
You know, it's the fascia that actually becomes out of alignment before everything else. So I have on my website a fascia decompression for the fur family course. It requires no tools. You use your hands and you learn how to actually do the fascia decompression. I created the course with a person, Deanna Hansen, who is, in my opinion, the most knowledgeable person on human fascia. And so when I met her, I said, oh my gosh, I got to do what you do for me on my pets. And so over a period of 8 months, we worked together to create this course and working on animal after animal after animal. And what you said is exactly true. When their gait is off, it's because structurally they aren't where they need to be. So the pet owner can do the fascia release. And then if they go to a chiropractor or acupuncturist, they can take it the next step to help release the things. Just time and gravity take us out of alignment. And then inflammation because we're eating egregious things in our diet. And so when you put all that together, what can you offset that with? And when we do regular fascia decompression, you're allowing the body to release and move back into its innate position where it knows it needs to be. So that was a beautiful, thank you for bringing that up because that really segued into something that pet parents can do without having even to go to a practitioner. They can do the fascia decompression themselves.
Yeah, and what a wonderful thing to do. It makes me so relaxed. I use the Fotizo light therapy for my three-legged dog, and I just love doing it. I'm not even getting the light therapy, and I'm like chilling.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
that was a very good set of questions. Thank you.
Yeah, there's plenty. We also have a bit of a longer one and a slightly more complicated one from Kathleen. She has a 10-year-old neutered Sprocker Spaniel. For the past 5 years, he's suffered with recurring cysts, mostly affecting his trunk area. Most don't get bigger than a peanut size. And I read that Spaniels are predisposed to sebaceous cysts. She's wondering, do they appear because his liver is unable to eliminate toxins effectively? If so, what can I add to the diet to help this? Also, it could be linked to indoor allergies, which he's just started homeopathic remedy for. He's fresh fed for the last 4 years, no vaccines or preventive medication. We've completed an elimination diet, and he doesn't appear to have any intolerances. We've had the bigger ones tested, which came back as benign cysts. Sometimes they burst and then take forever to heal, and sometimes they disappear, and sometimes they stay the same. I don't know if you have any experiences with cysts.
Oh, of course. So in Chinese medicine, lumps and bumps and cysts are the body's desire to exteriorize toxins. So using the same 6-step principle I said before, making sure that you have stopped doing the things that are causing it. I hear fresh diet, but I don't know what fresh diet means.
It
You
means
know,
raw. She feeds raw.
she feeds raw. Well, is it
Yeah.
grass-fed, grass-finished? Is it balanced with the right amount of meat?
Likely because she's one of my students.
Okay. Okay. So,
I hope so.
for our listeners, let's define that all raw is not equal. It depends on where you live and what country you live in. But raw to me is a proper balance of grass-fed, grass-finished, or free-range meat. So there's no genetically modified ingredients. And it is a balance of meat, fat, bone, and organ meat. And then, of course, not cooked. And then we still have to add the essential supplements. What kind of water are you using? Again, people live in lots of different places on this podcast, are listening from all over the world, but water needs to be highly structured. It has to be highly filtered. And in my wish list is always having molecular hydrogen available as well. If anybody wants to know more about that, they can email me and I'll send them links to equipment that they can use. And then making sure that all the essential nutrients are there, that you've resolved any leaky gut, that the organs of elimination are actually working. And it sounds like a broken record because these are, if you're going to build a house, I don't care if you're building a shack or you're building a mansion, you have to put in the same infrastructure in order for that house to function. No matter how much your appliances cost and how fancy the painting is, the structure, the foundation has to be the same. So this has to be what we have to look at. Then you got to look at what are the toxins that this animal is exposed to. Test for your essential nutrients, test for vitamin D and magnesium, test for heavy metals, glyphosate, mycotoxins, and microplastics. So if anybody is working with a veterinarian, they don't know how to do that, you can contact us. We can send you a test kit. I do require that if I'm going to work with somebody like that, that they do the Empowered Pet Parent course that we have online. That establishes me as their coach. So it makes me legal to be able to coach them. And then they understand it better. And then we can send the test kits and I'll do the interpretation. All right, so on the cyst level, lymphatics is a big area that is not addressed. So lymphatics and fascia. The lymphatics run through the fascia. So when the lymphatics are getting congested and they're not flowing well, you probably have an issue with the fascia being constricted as well. So there's a movement problem. Being able to do lymphatic therapy and fascia decompression may make a huge difference. But it just sounds like things aren't flowing and things are getting sludgy and stuck. And that's what you see with the cyst, especially sebaceous cyst.
That's really cool. She could do that for sure. Is your course, is that fascia course is on the website, is it?
Yes, it is. It's right next to the Empowered Pet Parent course.
But we'll put it in the comments, won't we? Or in the
You can put on the live. So what is in this test kit that you send?
Well, in the test kit, it's just the way that the lab collects the samples so that they can run the samples. So it's special dry technologies and materials so that the samples collected in a way that the lab can actually run the test.
So we're talking post the test kit here, post the test kit back to you. Is that how it functions?
So I would have to send them the test kit.
Yeah.
And then when they mail it, it goes right to the lab. It doesn't come back to me.
Where's the lab?
Well, it depends on which lab we're using. So
Oh,
there's different labs. Yeah.
in the US though.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
All in the US, but they all do have testing for most other countries.
Wow. And what sort of price is a microplastic test? That's a new one, isn't it?
Right now, because we're doing beta testing, the lab is only doing it at cost, so it's not that much. And the mycotoxins is a little more expensive, but it's not something you do every day. But right now, I think it's because it's so new, they're a little bit more expensive, but it's definitely affordable.
Okay. Okay.
Interesting. And you were talking about I was just going back a little bit. You were talking about hydrogenized water. Can you explain a little bit?
So hydrogen is made inside of our bodies by our microbiome. when the microbiome is healthy and happy. Well, we know that most individuals, especially our pets, have had antibiotics, they've had steroids, they've had processed foods. So their microbiota is probably not as good as it should be. So they may not be making as much hydrogen. That hydrogen is used by the body to make hydrochloric acid and a lot of other metabolic conditions. Hydrogen is a positively charged ion. And so when we are able to take in hydrogen, it donates that positive ion to the free radical. So hydrogen is H, a free radical is OH minus. So we have an H plus with an OH minus. So for every molecule of molecular hydrogen, H2, you have the ability to neutralize 2 free radicals and you make a water molecule. How cool is that? So that happens inside of our body. Our mitochondria make structured water for us when they are able to function. But as we start seeing more dis-ease in the body, the 3 things that cause illness, deficiencies of essential nutrients, an excess of toxicities that the body can't get rid of, and mitochondrial dysfunction. When that dysfunction happens, then you're not making as much structured water and the body has more difficulty in detoxification. The cells are dehydrated, nothing works properly, and we start to see dis-ease. When we structure our water, which is done in nature, so first thing in the morning when you go outside and you see that dew that's on all the plants, and when sunlight hits that radiant energy does that phosphorylation thing where it changes the water into structured water for the plant to take it in. So when we are eating foods that have been grown organically in nature, we are eating structured water. So go out and start growing some basil and oregano and eat it and cook with it. And so these are wonderful things for our body. But so many people don't have access to that. So the way we kind of cheat is we have a special machine. There are a lot of machines out there. They're not all good. So you really have to know how to vet a company. And I've done the heavy lifting if you want to trust me, or you can just take my information and use it and do the research for yourself. But the company that I use has a filtration system. There's 14 different canisters. So it's like the water is going down the mountain through these canisters, and it creates a vortex, and that vortex is what structures the water. And then it also highly filters, so it takes out glyphosate, heavy metals, and all the pollutants that are in the water, but not like reverse osmosis, which takes out everything. Reverse osmosis, I call it dead water because there's nothing left in it. It's not structured and there's nothing in it. But we need to bring these nutrients in through our water. So drinking structured water takes a lot of metabolic energy off the body. There's less workload because it's already structured. Your body doesn't have to go through the extra work to do that. And the only water that gets into the cell is a structured water molecule. It's a right size to fit through this little aquaporin, a little hole that allows water to come into the cell. When it's not structured, that molecule is kind of big and clunky and it can't get in the cell. So you're drinking gallons of water, but you're still cellularly dehydrated.
I call it irritation over hydration.
Yes. And then to answer your question, which was a long way around it, but the molecular hydrogen, when you're drinking it, is your antioxidant. And it's going and neutralizing all those free radicals in a way that you could never eat enough food to do that. Back in the olden days, in the caveman days, people ate enough antioxidant rich foods to meet their oxidative stress levels. Because just living creates free radicals. Like we're breathing, we're moving, our liver is working, we create free radicals every day. That's normal. But when your diet matches the amount of antioxidants you need to neutralize them, you're in good shape. When you have so many more free radicals that your body can't keep up with it, you can't possibly eat enough antioxidant food to match that. That's where molecular hydrogen comes in as a God saver, because you can drink a couple glasses of molecular hydrogen water and be equivalent to like an entire group of bananas and like pounds of antioxidant foods. Not that we shouldn't eat antioxidant foods. Of course, you still eat them organically, but this helps get us an edge up that we can do it easily. And then you can give it to your pets.
Exactly.
There's,
Yeah.
there's actually a question here on what's your opinion on oxygenated water?
Oh, do you know, I was going to come to that because I remember I've got it written down that you do ozone work.
I do ozone. And if that's what they're referring to,
No,
oxygenated.
I don't think they are. But
Okay.
no, we have over here an oxygenated water that is, yeah, I mean, I haven't tried it yet or seen it, but from what I've heard, it has nano bubbles of oxygen within it. And their proponent is that the body needs oxygen maybe more than it needs extra hydrogen, which for me, I hadn't heard that because I've been teaching about hydrogenated water for a long time and structured water. And so this is very new, even to me, and I haven't been able to give answers. And do you know about nanobubble water?
I don't, but just, using your critical thinking skills, if we simply breathe properly using diaphragmatic breathing, we would take in at least 40 to 60% more oxygen into our bodies. So we have 23% oxygen in our air. If we're not getting enough oxygen into the body, it's because we're not breathing properly. Most people breathe from their chest instead of taking a nice deep belly breath, moving that diaphragm down with your inhalation. Your belly should go out. And then when you breathe out, your belly comes in, pushes that diaphragm up. The fascia decompression and the block therapy that we do for people is helping people to get back to doing diaphragmatic breathing. I'm doing it while I'm talking to you. I'm just, as I take my breath in, I'm letting my body, my diaphragm go down and my belly's going out. Not that I want you to see that, but, but I'm doing diaphragmatic breathing while I'm talking to you. And so I'm automatically increasing the amount of oxygen coming into my body. Hydrogen is a totally different thing. It's an antioxidant. So what we're saying is with hydrogen, you're trying to neutralize the amount of free radicals that we are inundated with. Even just thinking about the level of stress that most people are under, just that alone creates a massive amount of free radicals, just stress alone. So if we can offset the amount of free radicals using molecular hydrogen, it just makes sense. Oxygen is not a neutralizer. So I don't see how that would do it. Is it good to get more oxygen in your body? Oxygen is a wonderful thing. Things don't grow in an oxygen-rich environment. But I'd have to see how are you drinking oxygen and actually getting that into your tissues, because it has to go from your stomach out perfusing into the tissues in order to have that same effect. I mean, that's why we use hyperbaric pressure, is we're taking and increasing the atmospheric pressure to push more oxygen out into the tissue, further out from where your lungs are. So I'm not sure how that would work, but I'm interested.
Yeah,
Ah,
I had a call with them. It's mainly brachycephalic breeds that can't breathe properly that it is completely transforming their lives. Um,
Wow.
and these are hopefully ones that are already taking lifestyle advice in terms of nutrition and, reducing toxin impact. But yeah, so it does seem to be the brachycephalic breeds that it is mostly helping at the moment.
Yeah. I mean,
so
just fix the nares and shorten the palate. Let it breathe.
Well, it's the breeding, isn't it? The breeding.
Yeah, yeah. But when we can surgically repair them too. So if you're going to get that kind of a breed, you got to be ready to
I
do.
think they've avoided surgery by using this water. That's what they've found.
You have to look into that. I'll just say
I'll send
that's
you the link.
interesting.
I'll send you the links.
Thank you.
That will be good. Tina, go on.
yeah, now I kind of forgot what I was going to say.
Wait, cool. No, I really want to know about ozone therapy because
Yeah,
we
that was my
did a little bit last time, didn't we? And I don't think we have this over here.
because that was my question because we don't have hyperbaric chambers very often in Europe or ozone therapy, so they both utilize pushing more oxygen into the body. How are they different, and when do you use what?
Well, let's start with ozone because I can teach hours and hours on ozone. So ozone is made in the stratosphere by nature. That this is not a new concept. When you go out, we used to be able to go out after a thunderstorm and it smelled really fresh. I don't smell that anymore, even after a thunderstorm. Anyway, so now what we can do is we can make ozone in from a machine that sparks oxygen. So you're using oxygen, create a spark. Some of those oxygen molecules, which are O2, they break apart. And when they break apart and they come back together, some of them will be in singlets and some of them will be in triplets. So ozone is O3. When that O3 comes together, three oxygen molecules come together, it has totally different properties. It's very unstable. You don't want to be breathing it because it is caustic to the lungs, but you can use it in the body either as a lavage, as a flush. You can put it in glycerin, you can put it in water, you can put it in oils, and that makes it more stable and safer to use if you're going to inhale it. Gives it longer shelf life. But ozone, one of the major principles is that it turns on big fancy pathway, the NRF2 pathway, and that turns on over 200 anti-inflammatory pathways. It's a signaler. So you're going to increase metabolism. You're going to help boost the production of glutathione because as a pro-oxidant, it's going to trigger the liver to produce glutathione, which is our number one natural internally made antioxidant. And then you are oxygenating the body. It's helps with nervous system dysregulation, so they can get calmer after that. It's antibacterial, antifungal, antiviral. There's no resistance to it, so we can use it in wound therapy, and we can use, and also helps to oxygenate the tissue, so we get faster healing, better healing, and we don't have to use antibiotics. It can break down the biofilm in the rectum, so when we do fecal matter transplants to help reestablish a normal microflora in the gut, we'll use ozone first to break down the biofilm so that when we do the fecal matter transplant, it actually has something that it can establish itself.
Mm.
We give it intravenously, intralesional. We could use it as acupuncture. Instead of a needle, you inject ozone. The paralyzed dog that we had has a spinal tumor. We're infusing ozone to the left and right of the spine where the surgery was, and we're helping to oxygenate that area and help improve the regeneration of the nerves in addition to helping to sterilize the area.
Interesting. Yeah. And so not many people do this away from where you are, or
Ozone in the States is becoming more popular. We're still a small segment of the population, but it is becoming more popular. It's one of those things that it's not expensive, which is really interesting. It's not expensive. The learning curve is really small and it's super safe. So we have a lot of our pet parents actually buy systems to use at home. It's a little, a little container about this big and then a small oxygen tank, some hoses, and it's really simple. So
I don't know what Lee would say if I said I've got an oxygen tank for the dog. Like it's not buy her a new bed. It's like the funniest thing for him.
Yeah, ozone is fabulous, and it's something that you would have to work really hard to create harm. So I'm very good about encouraging my pet parents to utilize that because they're around the pet much more than I am. And a lot of my patients come from very far away. So having the ability to continue therapies when they leave me is very valuable.
This is so cool. I want oxygen tanks available to buy at the next Natural Dog Expo.
Yes.
We have to get you over maybe to talk to us about these therapies.
Oh, I'd love that. I could do a slide deck and, seeing is what really makes the difference. I can sit here all day long and talk to you about things that I do, but when you see
Yeah.
animals recover from wounds or infections or cancer or whatever it is, and you see how quickly they recover with 100% quality of life, you can't deny that. And then you go, okay, something changed. Now, I do polymedicine, which is I do a lot of different things because in my mind, I'm going to use whatever tools are going to help create that pathway to go back to working again. And so I'm just fixing the things that were broke. And then once I fix them and I provide the foundation for the body to work, I don't have to do anything else. The body does what it knows how to do, and that's to heal and repair and regenerate.
Amazing. So do you find that, not that I think people shouldn't do the lifestyle, but if you've got patients who they don't want to change the diet, Does the ozone stuff still work? Does it work less efficiently or take longer?
So yes, it still has a positive effect, but it's not going to be as much. It's kind of like cleaning the river, right? If you're doing good when you're cleaning the river, but you keep pouring more pollution upstream, so you're not going to get the same effect. Now, in my practice, the 1-star reviews are those people who just weren't ready for a different change. They want a pill for the ill and a diet for the disease, and they don't want to hear that there's anything that they're doing that could be contributing or that they could make different choices. And bless them, that is okay. We're not here for everybody. We're here for our tribe, right? Your listeners are your tribe. These are the people that are receptive, that they want what we're sharing. The others, there's somebody for them too. It just may not be us yet. And then maybe down the road, then they're going to be more receptive. Maybe something happens in their life that they go, oh my gosh, I should have looked at that. It's all good. That's what makes diversity. That's what makes contrast. That's what makes the world so sexy and juicy, is because we do have this diversity. So it's not a blame or shame. It's just, are they ready to make lifestyle changes? So to answer your question, yes, there's some positive effects. Is it going to have as dramatic of effect as what I do? No, because you're putting a Band-Aid. Now you're doing the allopathic model. You're naming it and you're blaming it, and you're giving, instead of a pharmaceutical, you're giving an herb or an ozone or something like that. But you haven't fixed the root cause of the problem. And that's what I really want to drive home. If the listeners get nothing else out of this, if we don't change the mindset that created the problems, then you're not going to fix the problem. That was Einstein. He said you can't fix problems with the same mindset that created them.
Mhm.
Right? And you can't expect a different result if you don't change anything. That was 2 quotes from Einstein, right? How do you expect a different result when you haven't changed anything?
I feel like in many situations, it just takes that huge thing. So either like they hit a point where nothing else works and then they're willing to try anything, or
Yes.
that they had a personal experience where drugs didn't help them anymore and they suddenly started changing things and then they saw how well it worked.
100%. And that's true for all of us. Even me, what made me go from traditional medicine, which is what I thought I did very, very well, for about 15 years. I was already 15 years into practice before I had that life-altering experience where my daughter and one of my show horses were in an accident. The horse saved my daughter's life. And when I went to save that horse, I was told by equine practitioners, there's nothing more that you can do. You can put her out to a pasture or you can put her down. And that was an unacceptable answer. And that was my spark, my kick in the hiney that said, I'm going to find an answer. That's also my type A personality. Like, just tell me no, and I'm going to prove you wrong. And so that was the motivation that I had to actually seek answers. And at that time, they didn't exist in the traditional veterinary world. They literally didn't exist. So I had to go into what was just starting on the human side, was functional medicine. So I was sucking in everything I could learn about functional medicine and then applying that to my patients and adapting everything. I mean, everything I've done has been adapting something from the human side and making it work for the pet side. Now we're seeing some things that are coming out just on the pet side, but it hadn't been like that for a long time.
I agree. I actually started with a similar thing, or actually my own health problems, where I had so many chronic issues and I've been giving the same pills over and over again, and they just did not work. And I was on all like so many medications and nothing did anything. And then I started with diet, and then I started with supplements, and I started with detox, and then I got into functional medicine for humans. And then I realized, why is this not the same for dogs? I mean, like, look at what they eat. So yeah, what about you, Caroline? What was your way into kind of nutrition?
I never had a choice. I was like drummed into me from my mum when I was young. And then because all I wanted to do is work with dogs, when I left school, I phoned every kennels, like that kind, every establishment I could, because we didn't, just from the yellow pages we used to have then, like we never had the internet then. So anyway, and I got a job at a place where she was saying all the same things as my mom. She used only homeopathy, no vaccines, raw fed. And I was just like, okay, like I'm listening. Like I've just, because you know what it's like, if it's your parents, you're always a little bit like, maybe. But then I just, yeah, thrown into this world. And then 20 years of working there and just seeing that it worked. And those that, because it was a holiday kennels and cattery. So the guardians had the choice. They could follow what we suggested or not. And those that did, their animals got better, or they didn't have the repetitive diseases each summer or whatever. So I just somehow was thrown into this world, born into this world, and yeah, I absolutely love it. It's the best way to be is to understand the world like this, and to understand the terrain side of it, and to trust uncertainty. And it's a big thing to learn. And I often forget that because I've had a lifetime of seeing it work. I can be like, just, just get it, people. But actually, it's like, it takes a while to change uh,
Yeah.
the resonance that's within you.
Yeah, change does take effort, and it's all belief systems. And a belief system is simply a thought we keep repeating. We get our belief systems from how we were raised. Look at the difference in your belief system from most of the world, right? You grew up hearing this, but kind of like, oh, I don't want to listen to my mom. However, when something happens in our life where we can look at that belief system, which was somebody else's to start with, and then you get to decide, is that belief system working for me or is it not? And if it's working for you, by Jove, keep believing it. But if it isn't working for you anymore, then you have an opportunity to change it. The challenge with changing it is that it's in your hard drive. So you're hardwired to believe that that is your belief. And so you have to do a few, it's not really hard to change, but you just have to do the reprogramming. And that's where, whether you do neurolinguistics or you do neuro reprogramming or however you do it, there's lots of different methods where you can reprogram. It's like taking a recorder. If I record something on my phone and I go to play it back, I can yell at my phone 100 times and say, don't say that, don't say that. And it's going to say the same thing because I recorded it. That's our hard drive. That's our subconscious mind. But if you're going to change it, then you have to erase, in a proverbial manner, you have to erase the program that was there and replace it with something more serving. And there's lots of techniques out there for people to be able to do that, wonderful practitioners to work with. And it changes your entire world. When you can let go of belief systems that are not yours, it will magnify your life in a way that you have no idea how wonderful it could be.
Mm, I concur. Absolutely. And sometimes that is, again, we're talking about like removing the toxins from the physical body, but actually, sometimes it's about really reducing the information that's going in your body. And it's not even about reducing, deciding whether it's negative or positive or whether you want it, whether you don't. It's reducing it right down to very little. So the information is pure, and you can access. They reckon Caltech Uni did the study that showed that we have within our DNA the ability to store data, and the volume of data that they found that we had access to storing came to the exact age of the universe. So we have access to everything if we can
Yes.
get quiet enough to feel it and to be.
Beautiful, beautiful. So when I'm teaching my pet parents, I help them to understand, I'm going to use my hand as an example, is we have 5 energy bodies. There's more, but we're going to use these 5. So you have your spiritual body, which is your connection to higher consciousness that we just referred to. And then we go into the mental body, the emotional body, the etheric body, and the physical body. Now, I use my hand because even though we're talking about these individual bodies, they're all connected, right? So one flows into the other. So as something comes from our intuition, our connection with higher consciousness, our God connection, our soul, whatever, then that flows down into our mental body, which are all of our thoughts. And your thoughts are simply thoughts. They don't do anything until you attach them to an emotion. Now, when you take a thought and you marry it to an emotion, that's your belief system. Doesn't mean it's right or wrong. It's just what you have come to believe it to be true. And then as you put energy into it, it goes into the etheric body, which is where kind of Santa's closet. Everything gets put in together and then you develop it and it forms into your physical expression. So now you see it. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So
That
when
would
we
be
think
great.
about it that way, then we go, oh, I can actually unmarry my thought and my emotion, look at it individually and say, does that thought actually serve me? And if it's a low frequency, low vibration thought, like anger, frustration, victimhood, et cetera, then what we're seeing is that these experiences are coming up into our consciousness for the simple reason that we need to transmute them. We need to shift them to the other side, to the high vibration side, because every low vibration emotion has an equal and opposite on the other side. So it actually makes Earth School very fun. Instead of being stuck in the emotion, instead of being a victim to the circumstances, we go, oh, look, I created something. How humorous was that? What was I thinking? And then you can change it. So you can decide, how do I want to experience that from a victor instead of a victim mentality? And a lot of our pets, this is why I'm bringing it up, our pets are the segue for us to get there.
Hmm.
They're bringing us to those pieces of information that we need to hear at the time that we need to hear them. And it's just up to us to pay attention. And if we miss it, it's just like the GPS when you're driving. Oh, you missed the turn, make a U-turn, go to the next block, make a U-turn. And it keeps coming back to us until we finally do make the U-turn and hopefully come back and go, oh, that was the path that the light was on. I get it.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
love that. That's
So,
really
Elise isn't here, so we've gone over time again. Everyone, good. Elise isn't here.
Sorry, I took us down a lighted path.
No, it's so meant to be. So meant to be. It's what I teach other than nutrition. So it's just the best as the best. It is almost, for me, it sometimes even overrides the molecular nutrition side. It's like, actually, if we can clear or change or transform what's happening energetically with your dog, you don't have to worry so much about the food, which is a big statement for me to make, believe me. So what do you want to do, Tina and Marlene? Do you want to take any more questions, or shall we
Oh
say,
yeah, I'm fine.
Oh,
Tina,
we're over time though.
what do you want to do as well? I'm happy to answer more. Okay. We'll get told off next week by Lise, but I'm happy to, if we've got lots, I'm happy to go with another one or something, or
Yeah. How about we take a magical number 3?
Okay.
And I'll be
or
quicker at answering them.
yeah, go
Okay.
on.
Well, I have some short questions actually. For nutritional testing, what do you do? Blood test, HMA? How do you do them?
Combination of blood and hair analysis.
Perfect. And you said sometimes you can avoid antibiotics by using ozone therapy and such things. Is that the case in like often or?
Yes, very, very often. Depends on the circumstance.
What do you use instead then to ensure there's no infection? And
Ozone.
yeah,
Ozone is our disinfectant. Yes.
perfect. And you also mentioned about fascia. How does an owner know when they need to do fascial decompression? What cases? How does it show up in the body? And when do they need it?
If they have a pet, they need to do it, period. When we're younger, we're more fluid. And then as we get older, we have injuries and we have stress and strain and we have gravity. And so it's a lifestyle. Fascia is not something you go, oh, it's Wednesday, my animal's limping, let me go do the fascia. It's something that you do every day. I do my fascia work every day. And that's how I start my day, is opening up my fascia, doing my diaphragmatic breathing, getting my structured water. I have a whole lifestyle that I do. It's how I begin and end my day with gratitude, etc.
Also,
I do want to go back to the question about what do I use instead of the antibiotics. I also use a lot of silver hydrosol, which is a natural antibiotic.
Oh.
yes, used to be used by vets a lot. in the 1920s. I've got a book about veterinary and the God knows this is
Yeah, so I do silver hydrosol and I do minor autohemotherapy as well. And that's where I take a little bit of blood, I ozonate it, and then I inject that back into the patient. It's their own blood that I've broken the cells down, and it releases, it's a homeopathic, but it's using their blood and mixed with ozone. And then I put it in at acupuncture points. And that also helps to stimulate the immune system and stimulates the body's intelligence.
Oh, that's amazing. Do you ever use any herbs like oregano or similar things or
I
grapeseed?
do. I actually grow oregano. I call it oregano.
oh,
We,
yes.
isn't that an interesting way we say it? But yes, I grow fields of oregano and I make tinctures with olive oil that I cook with. I make apple cider vinegar. I use alcohol. Yeah, just I have olive leaf and many medicinal herbs in my little food forest here.
Wow, that's amazing.
I was just going to say for that lady asking about, or someone asking about fascia, we have the talk from, was it last week or the week before? I called it our fascinating talk because all we did is talk about fascia for about an hour. That
Oh,
was,
I'll have to go
that,
listen to that.
it was not last time, it was the time before
Ulrika, yeah.
with Riggy. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So look for that. Have a watch of that as well. Okay, shall we call it a night?
Oh, that was only one question. Let's go two more.
Okay, okay. I'm guided. At least we're being guided by Marlene.
Okay, so these are a bit longer ones. But Ethan is wondering about vaccines. So I'm getting my 8-week-old puppy this Saturday, but I've been going back and forth whether to have 1 or 2 sets of the DHP vaccine and then use a nosode called Canine Combo 30. Do you have any advice for either 1 or 2 time frames for either? And lepto is a no-go for me.
Yes, yes, yes. So the body, if that puppy nursed on its mom, they're going to have maternal antibodies. And we know from science and studies that maternal antibodies don't wane until the 12th to 14th week. So when we're giving a vaccine under that age period, it's really blocked by the maternal antibodies anyway. So in my office, we start our distemper parvo vaccines at 14 weeks of age. We do a second booster at 17 weeks of age, and then we titer. And we found that most of the animals, we don't have to give them another vaccine for the rest of their life. Their titers stay high.
Hmm.
Love that.
We
Yeah.
have, and what Lisa writes in her book as well, it depends a little bit about how much it's exposed. Are you able to do titer testing up to a certain age? But yeah, I think I think if you take it at 16 weeks, you might be able to get away with only using one vaccine, was, yeah, it's also a theory. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
so that may have been the vaccine question that I saw before. But yeah, I mean, we do have episodes. We talk pretty much about vaccines the whole episode. So you might want to watch those as well. Tina puts them on YouTube because Facebook is chucking them off now after 30 days. So we do have a YouTube channel with all of the old episodes on it.
Yeah. Going further with the vaccines, we also have a question from Stella. She's wondering about the actual immunity after vaccines for bacterial disease like leptospirosis. I've heard that the immunity only lasts 12 to 20, 28 months, whereas viral vaccines immunity lasts years, and that titer testing helps for viral vaccines but not for bacterial vaccines. Is this true? And if so, the role of nosodes for bacterial disease.
Well, lepto is a really challenging subject, but definitely we know that the efficacy does not last as long. Same thing with Bordetella. And I defer to what you guys already said. What's the exposure? What's the risk? And what's the lifestyle of this animal? What's their immune system like? Because the vaccines only are designed to actually create a stimulus to the immune system so that when that animal sees that disease, it can have a more immediate response because it's trained the immune system to understand that it's there. If you already have a poorly trained immune system or the natural immunity is low, then it doesn't matter how many vaccines you've given. You're not going to have a good response. So I would say the first thing we need to worry about is how have we fed that animal? What's the gut microbiome like? What's the amount of inflammation that's occurring? Do you have all your essential nutrients? Are the organs of elimination working? Let's have that conversation first. And then we go to what else do we need to do to train the immune system to respond to a particular threat. And then how big of a threat is it? Because in most cases, the individuals, people or animals that have a competent innate immune system, they're not going to get sick. Their body is going to be able to use herd immunity and take care of itself. So I would like to help people not rely on vaccines to make your pet healthy. It's truly the lifestyle that's going to make that pet healthy. Spend your money testing what the deficiencies are. What are the toxicities? How can I help my pet to have what it needs and get rid of what it doesn't need? And then do I need to look at a vaccination program? Does that make more sense? That makes more sense to me. Like, I want to
Absolutely.
start with the foundation and make sure my foundation is healthy before I worry about the add-ons.
Yeah, and
Watch if you can. I've watched it at least 3 times because you have to sometimes with these things to keep watching. The Joe Rogan and Dr. Suzanne Humphreys interview about vaccinations. It's absolutely brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And she really nails it when she explains that what we need to be doing is by doing the lifestyle changes that Dr. Marlene's talking about, we're encouraging the dog's immune system to have its own innate knowledge, and that is far stronger. Its ability to determine what to react to and what not to react to needs a natural, gentle, innate approach. Whereas if we just keep saying, please don't react to that, please don't react to that, please don't react to that, or have protection from this, have protection from this, which is it's kind of the same thing.
Mhm.
What you almost force it to suddenly just go, okay, I'll react and I'll have protection and I'll just do that for everything. And then that's when we start to see more allergies and more itchy skin and more protein problems and all the different things that we see because we've just pushed and pushed that immune system too far. So it's just gone, okay, you want me to be protected, I'll just protect myself from everything then. And then we go a few years down the line, oh, I've got an itchy dog, I wonder what that could be. And actually it was those initial vaccines that did that, and it forced the immune system. Now in that Joe Rogan interview, Suzanne is talking about humans, but it's the same, it's
Mhm.
the same concepts, you know.
Absolutely. If we were able to just control the amount of inflammation that was happening in the body, we would eliminate most of our dis-ease. I don't even say disease anymore. It's dis-ease. It's the body not being in balance. And it all stems from leaky gut, allowing inflammation to come into the body that then hits the weakest link or links in the body. So when we see autoimmune diseases, we're really seeing the body's exhausted state. So when a toxin comes into the body, it is transported by the bloodstream to the liver. The liver's job is to identify foreign material. And when it identifies something that's foreign, it sends out the army, the cytokine storm, to eliminate the enemy. And then when the enemy's gone, the body is supposed to go back into a parasympathetic state, a healing state, and then the army goes and takes a nap. But when you have constant infiltration, because the leaky gut is constant, it's allowing proteins and toxins and all these materials that were not supposed to come into the body, it's allowing them in every bite of every meal 24/7 of the day. So after a period of time, any army is going to get exhausted because it's constantly being, alarms going off. And at some point, they're so tired, they just look around, they go, oh, there's a thyroid gland. I think there might be an enemy on that. Just kill it. And that's what we see in autoimmune diseases. So back to what are the basics? We have an innate immune system, but it needs vitamin D and magnesium to work. And so 85%, this is a study done in a university, 85% of dogs fed a kibble diet were vitamin D insufficient. 85%. Wow. So how do you expect them to be healthy?
Mm. Mm. Crazy, isn't it? Considering that's the one nutrient that has all the recalls.
Yeah.
That's the one that gets
And
so
just,
wrong.
yeah. And so just to end that topic is we as omnivores get our vitamin D from both our protein and from the sun. Herbivores, our grass eaters, can only get vitamin D from the sun. Carnivores only get vitamin D from their protein. So if they're eating a protein source that was never out in the sun, it was a feedlot situation and it never really ate all of its life out in the sun to have high vitamin D levels in its muscle, then that's why we're seeing the levels of vitamin D deficiency. But most people think that animals can go, that their dog and cat can go lay in the sun. Oh, look, they're getting their vitamin D. No, they're not. They need it from their protein source. And so we have to be far more aware. That's why I'm absolutely emphatic that the meats that we use in these diets have to be grass-fed, grass-finished, free range.
Absolutely, because they will have the fatty acids that act alongside the vitamin D. You know, you could be giving supplements of vitamin D to your dog, but if the fatty acids aren't there for the transportation, it's not going to get to where it needs to go. Nothing works alone.
Yeah.
So,
Great topics. Absolutely amazing information. And
yeah,
it just barely scratched the surface.
Yeah, the only things I would add is you can always do things like prevent them from drinking puddle water and try to stay clear of areas with a lot of rats that typically carry it. It's usually shed in urine, so don't let them leak urine from other animals and stuff like that. About the nosodes, I'm pretty sure Lisa would said something like, yes, but you can maybe use them when there's an outbreak, or
yeah,
if you need anything extra,
I
kind
think
of. Yeah.
say that. But again, that is in another episode that's on
Yeah.
our YouTube channel.
Yes, I think it is.
Well, this has been amazing, monster long holistic Vet sisters that we've absolutely loved.
Longest episode ever, I think.
Yay! I love breaking records.
Yeah.
Great. Okie doke. Well, thank you guys for watching. Thanks everybody. Yeah, and do tell your friends because where else can you come and get completely free, wonderful holistic vet advice from a load of lovely women from all over the world? Not many places. So yeah, we're here to help. We just want to see the pets be healthier and support you. So we shall see you all next week.